Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. I'm your DJ and host, Sam Wilson Jr., and I'm here to bring you the history genre of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the history destination genre of black music, right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and it's a blue-eyed soul, white chocolate episode, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this lady that I'm about to introduce to you is a singer, songwriter, and model. Her powerful vocals have been soulfully good. Now, she has performed around Europe and the Middle East, which includes Germany, France, and Greece. She has also performed at most major UK arenas, including the Oz and Wembley Stadium. While she's not on tour, she is also a fashion model. I got a chance to check out her music videos on YouTube called Jokers Don't Have Hearts, also Our Way, Ain't No Man, and others. The bad news is Jokers Don't Have Hearts is not available on iTunes, so bummer. So please help me welcome to my Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, representing the UK, blue-eyed soul singer, songwriter, and model, Miss Daisy Dance. Hi,
Hey,
Daisy. How are you?
I'm good. That's such an intro.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the intro. Welcome to my podcast. That's something new for the fourth season. So I said, let me do my homework. Let me start writing up the bio and everything. So I wanted to be prepared for season 4. And this is my first time talking to you in the UK. And I'm just branching out with some new things that I wanted to start doing.
Love that. Love it.
Okay. So let us begin, shall we? Now, where were you born?
I was born at home in my mum's bedroom, and she's still there to this day. So, yes. And I've been told about this story way too many times, I think.
Was it still in the UK or many parts of
Yes,
the
in
UK, London?
sorry, it's just a small town just outside of London called Maidenhead. So that's where I was born.
Now, were your parents in the music industry or did they had 9 to 5 day jobs?
Most of my family is self-employed, but they weren't professional musicians. I'm probably the first person in the family, I think, to take it to professional levels. Although my mum does sing, she likes to sing. My dad used to play guitar, so there is musical influence, but no one was professional.
Now, what high school did you go to?
I went to a school called Altwood School in Maidenhead. I started at an all-girls school, but what maybe wasn't the right fit. So then I ended up in a place called Altwood. So yeah.
Now, which college did you go to?
I didn't go to college. I started my A levels and then I auditioned for a girl band in London around 17 years old, and I left school and then I went to go and be in this girl band at 17. So that was kind of the end of my educational journey and the beginning of my musical journey.
Okay. I was going to ask you what was your major, but since you didn't go to college, but we can go to the next question. Now, growing up in the UK, did the British radio stations play some of your favorite American artists?
Yes. So I would say, and I was thinking about this, I still to this day listen to these particular artists, Mary J. Blige, Lauryn Hill, Indie RE, especially those artists. There's something, and I was also wondering what it was about them, other than being phenomenal singers and songwriters and producers, that they just have a certain tone. I think an alto, like a low, soulful, beautiful way of singing, and I was drawn to those singers, and I'm still to this day playing the same albums, the same songs.
Hmm. Now, growing up, who were some of your favorite classic soul and today's R&B and dance artists?
Dance artists. So those singers, definitely. There's a singer over here in the UK called Sinead Harnett. She's a blue-eyed soul singer. I think she's brilliant. I think she's kind of breaking America. Um, Gosh, who else? I think if we're going to go old school, people like Aretha Franklin. I was obviously brought up on Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, you know, the big, big pioneering powerhouses. So yeah.
Hmm. Now, who were some of your soul musical influences that had inspired you?
All of those singers that I've just mentioned definitely had a huge influence on me. Um, I think definitely, you know, singers like Mariah Carey, because she came along and she was a pioneer in her field, the way she could extend her range the way she did. It was so new and different and wow. Um, so I think she, at that time, I'm from that era. I'm that generation. So she definitely, and Whitney Houston, you know, they had a huge effect. And I think those singers had a knock on effect with most of my peers, you know, in the industry, many of us.
Now, as a singer, you're also a songwriter. How many songs have you written and performed?
So I began writing around the age of 14. So from there till now, which was a long time ago, many songs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. I haven't released all of them. I've only released a handful, maybe 10 or more. Actually, do you know what? I don't know. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. But I have been fortunate enough to release some of those songs. So I'm very happy and proud about that.
Now, being a singer and a songwriter, was that your calling?
Yeah, I think so. And I definitely think people that are in the creative world, they seem to know at a young age that that's what they wanted to do. That's what they want to be. There just seems to be something about the creative industry, especially the music industry. I find that many people say I knew from when I was very young. So definitely, about 8 years old, I suddenly realized I'm going to sing. That's what I'm going to do.
Now, your big break on MTV Hugo Urban Rules. Now, how the show on MTV in the UK where you're at differ from our American shows here at home, like America's Got Talent or Star Search? How is it different over there in the UK, differ from our shows here in the United States?
MTV Hugo Urban Rules in particular was more underground. It wasn't so big and ostentatious like American Idol, Pop Idol. These are very big, glamorous, national shows where hundreds of thousands of people will audition. MTV was a lot more underground. It wasn't publicized so broadly. It was just a few of us that kind of auditioned and got through it, but also you had to be an original singer songwriter. So you could only audition with your original songs. You couldn't just sing a cover. Um, yeah, so I guess it differed in that respect. Just a little bit more underground.
Now, before your big break, did you had any day jobs? And if so, please share with us what day jobs that you had before you got into the music industry.
Maybe every day job you can think of. I've been working since I was 14 again. I just wanted to work and make some money and graft. And not all of it was in the music industry. I've been a waitress, I've been a bartender, I was a cleaner when I was 14. I was cleaning at some shop in my local town after school because I just wanted to get on work. I've been receptionist. I even drove a van around where it was a van that had like a doggy grooming thing in the back. So I was like driving that van for a while. I've done so many different jobs to get by and to
Mhm.
get through.
Yeah, because every time when I'm watching Entertainment Tonight here in the United States, they had a report on stars who had jobs. It was like, wait a minute, you mean stars had day jobs? I thought they was just like auditioning for everything, whether it's for movies or the stage or television. And I didn't realize like stars who had jobs before they got their big break. I said, oh
Yeah,
wow, no
you
wonder.
gotta
No
work.
wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my first job here in the New York City area, here in the United States, my first summer job was a daycare counselor. That was my first job in
Ah,
1982 when I was still
wow.
in high school. So if
Yeah,
my mom would always tells me, if you want to get clothes like these, look presentable, then you got to go to work. I was like, all right, I got to go to
yeah.
work,
She's right.
get my thing and stuff like that. Hmm.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. Did you enjoy it?
Yes. And no, because as a daycare counselor, I got, take care of these kids over here. Sometimes they can be like out of sync, I should say,
Yeah,
or like,
yeah,
like problem child, stuff like that. But,
yes,
at the end of the day, I did the best that I could. The pay was good and
yeah,
had to get myself a bank account and just make sure that you have it in the bank and save that for a rainy day. But mostly
yeah,
like on Friday I'd be going to the movies and stuff. But then sometimes you got to start saving it for a rainy day and anything like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yes. I
Now,
completely agree.
yes, yes. Now, you signed a contract with Universal Music and you joined the band called Girls Can't Catch. Now, who came up with that name?
The way you just said that, that was, I can tell you it wasn't my idea. um, I think it was the label's idea. I think we had like this big meeting at Universal Label. We had A&R, we had the label themselves, all of the us girls. We had makeup artists, wardrobe. We all were together brainstorming. What should we call this band? What should we call ourselves? And we were there for hours and hours and hours. And we couldn't think of anything. It was really difficult. And in the end, the label kind of said, "Look, Girls Can't Catch. It's a great name. Let's do it." So we became Girls Can't Catch. I think now in 2024, you wouldn't get away with a name like that. It was a very niche moment in time.
Now, is the band kind of like the Spice Girls or the Go-Go's or the Bangles or the R&B female groups like SWV or Destiny's Child or In Vogue?
I think the aim was there was a girl band here in the UK called the Sugar Babes. Have you heard of the Sugar Babes?
I've never heard of the Sugar Babes, never heard of it.
Yeah.
No.
They were like a cool R&B. just a really cool girl band over here in the UK. So we were kind of trying to emulate them. Um, and we were also a trio. But I think the image and the name maybe took us away from that sort of image, and we were more sort of drawn towards the pop, maybe more Spice Girl kind of image. We actually shared the same manager as the Spice Girls, way back in the day. He was the Spice Girls' first ever manager, and then he managed us.
Now, let's talk about the group's debut single, Keep Your Head Up. And
Yeah,
no, to ladies and gentlemen out there, this is not the same Keep Your Head Up, which was performed by the late rap artist Tupac Shakur. This is the different version of Keep Your Head Up. I just had to
yeah,
explain that to our audience
yeah,
because they probably think it's the remake or, sampling and stuff like that. No, 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 no.
yeah.
Not this one. It's a different song of Keep Your Head Up. And as I mentioned, your group's debut single released back in 2009, top 30 hit on the UK charts. Was that the biggest million seller that y'all made, or was it some other song made the biggest million seller from your group?
That was our debut single, but it was the second single, Echo, that hit top 20 in the UK. So that was our best single. We were going to go straight in with a third single called Happy Alone. We were ready to go in with that, but unfortunately it just didn't work out, I guess, at that time. But yes, Echo was the big single over here. I think they played it on an American show. I think they played it on the Hills in America, or a snippet. But I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But I remember hearing it's translated over to America and they've played it on the Hills.
Now, while you're not on tour, you participated as a music judge on BBC One's All Together Now, along with Spice Girl Jerry Halliwell, aka Ginger Spice, and comedian Rob Beckett. Please share with our audience about what the show is all about.
It was So there were 100 judges. I was one of the judges. Jerry was the main judge, and we would a singer would come on stage, perform, and then if we, the judges, liked the singer, we would press our button, stand up, and start singing with the singer that was auditioning. So the aim was to get 100 of us up, and then that singer would get through to the next round. So it was that, if that makes sense. It was good fun, really good fun.
Is it kind of like the American version, America's Got Talent on NBC, with Simon Cowell, the man that we loved to hate when he was on American Idol on Fox, and then be the new host of America's Got Talent, along with Heidi Klum and Sofia Vergara and Howie Mandel, those judge panelists. Is it kind of like that here in the United States
No,
compared to the show in the UK?
I would say no, no, just because there were 100 judges and it was big and loud and chaotic and really good fun. But it was a very different format. And Rob Beckett, because he's a great comedian here in the UK, so he put a real comedic tone to it. So it was actually quite fun and funny to watch. But it was very kind. There was no harsh rejection or anything like that. No one was mean or overly critical. It wasn't like that. I'm not saying that, American Idol is, but it was very family friendly, fun TV show.
Now, you're also a fashion model, is that correct?
Um, I wish I was. I'm not quite tall enough. I have done I've done some modelling over the years, but I'm not a fashion model. In my dreams, I
Hmm.
am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was looking at your fashion model bio and I said to myself, a couple of pages, I said, I've got to ask Daisy if she was a model while in between touring, whether it was singing or doing your other thing. So I said to myself, I got to ask you for that because not many guests that I have interviewed on my episodes of my podcast. Some have done modeling, and some had did acting, but not full time acting or full time acting. They're just juggling around other things they can get their hands on.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, the band that you were in has opened up and toured with the Jonas Brothers. What were some of your memories of opening up for the band, the Jonas Brothers?
I remember specifically the screams from the girls in the audience. It was like nothing I've ever heard or experienced. So obviously the Jonas Brothers are huge in America and they are huge over here, and we were very lucky. It was such a wonderful opportunity. But um, whereas in the UK, when I toured with Girls Aloud, the stage was over to one side, but with the Jonas Brothers, they put the stage right in the middle of the O2 of Wembley, like it was a centre thing. So you had the audience all around you, like a huge theatre. And the screams, I'll never forget it. As soon as we went on stage, how are you doing? It was like, it was crazy. It was wonderful. Real, that was a very special moment. That's what I remember the most.
Now, as a solo singer, I got a chance to check out your videos on YouTube, including Our Way and Ain't No Man and Jokers Have No Hearts. As I said in the intro, the song Jokers Have No Hearts wasn't available on iTunes. But I did get a chance to look at the other song that I've seen on YouTube called Lockdown and also Remember Me. Please share with us about that song Lockdown, because I know you have written that song or performed it during the pandemic.
Yes. So for me, 2020 and the pandemic was an awful time. I didn't enjoy it. I went through a series of, it was a rough time. And then I teamed up with this producer. He just approached me on social media, and Ian Ian Bartlett. Oh gosh, I need to remember his name. He approached me and said, "Do you want to write to some of this music? I've got some music. Do you want to write to it?" And I came out with Our Way, and it was the end of a lockdown song, and I wanted something positive to come from such a dark time, and I just felt that was the kind of moment I wanted to kind of leave 2020 with, and enter 21 with this positive, uplifting song. So that's kind of where that came from, if that makes sense. Tripping over my
Yes.
words.
Yes. Now, the video that I said, a few minutes ago, Lockdown, was it kind of like similar to everyone on Zoom or any other virtual thing that you did the music video on, or was it kind of a little different from us here in the U.S.? We had to do our meetings or church service or any other meetings on Zoom. Was it kind of similar to that, to the music video that
Yeah.
y'all did?
Yeah, we shot the video out and about with a handful of us, but we also that in the video Our Way, you can see part of the video is the Zoom meetings, and it kind of starts with the Zoom meetings, and everyone's looking fed up and everyone's miserable, and then the song starts, and then it's like you're out and you're free and saying hello to everybody. But yeah, we had everything was over Zoom, everything was online during that time. Yeah, it's a very strange time. How did you
Hmm.
find it?
Well, I found it very refreshing and soulful, and you have a wonderful soul voice. And here in the US, when the pandemic started, all of our shows had to go on Zoom. So I
Yeah,
was introduced to Zoom back in May or June
yeah,
of 2020 because
yeah,
I was in my high school, or should I say, my junior high school alumni. We were supposed to have a class reunion for 1981. That was supposed to have been taking place for 2021, But because
Yeah.
of the pandemic, we had to put it on hold. And the same thing
Yeah.
for my Black and White Middleton family reunion, because I'm a Middleton Wilson, because I'm a cousin of a Tuskegee Airman. We were supposed to have our Middleton family reunion at Middleton Place in Charleston, South Carolina for November 2021. That too had to be put on to the next year
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
2022. So
Yeah.
everything was all good, you know. And as far as my church, I'm a church deacon, and
Yeah.
most of our church members, we're not hooked to Zoom or the conference call because, you know, not
Mm.
everybody's into computer technology.
Yeah.
So most of my other members who are like, you know, little older than me, you know, most of them are in
Yeah.
their 60s, you know, that said, let's get to and learn about this because as a
Yeah.
Sunday school teacher, we had our students who, younger for students, especially my nieces, we've got in
Yeah.
Zoom. So it was nice, you know, seeing everybody on the screen. And you can tell I had to dress up in my suit. You know, you just can't go on a church service or a funeral dressed up like this, be in your suit and tie, just like
Of
you're
course.
being in church. And, you know, the same thing when I was watching Saturday Night Live. Everybody was doing all the skits from home. And, you know, with no audience, it's kind of like, nobody's laughing when everybody's doing everything
Yeah.
from home. So that was kind of a little different
Big.
from
Yeah.
that. And then when the fall season came from 2022, not only we were surviving the pandemic, but we were also surviving the riots that took place. So
Yes.
all of the
Yes.
some of the shows were doing some special episodes with the pandemic or the riots.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Yeah.
talking to their smartphones on their screen. So I said to
Yeah.
myself, if everybody had their smartphones taking pictures or doing
Yeah.
video, then why can't everyone be calling me if I'm calling them on their smartphone? And they're
Yeah.
kind of like, nobody's not into that calling on the smartphone. But, you
Yeah.
know, I wanted to learn on how to talk to somebody, you know, whether it was on Facebook, they had like the phone and the video thing. So I wanted to
Yeah.
start learning because all of our news reporters were reporting the news, sports, and weather from their homes.
Yeah.
So I said, let me start learning on how I can get used to it. Now, you know, I'm a
Yeah.
sci fi fan, and I be watching Star Trek and 2001 A Space Odyssey, the movie, and The Twilight Zone and Quantum Leap. So, you know, they're talking about the prediction of the future. Everything was
Yeah.
going computer tech. So maybe someday if I can do like a podcast workshop, I can teach the parents and the seniors on how to prepare ourselves on what's coming next. So, like I said, everybody has their smartphones, whether they're taking pictures or taking videos. Do you
Yeah.
know how to talk to somebody on the
Yeah.
screen like I'm talking to you now on this
Yeah.
podcast? And, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like to help them, you know, to prepare
Yeah.
for these times like these.
Yeah. Yeah. You're adapting and going with the changes and learning yourself so that you can grow and adapt and move forward with your own business and situation while helping others. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Now, you got a chance to collaborate with so many producers and songwriters, including Andrew Lloyd Webber, the Andrew Lloyd Webber that we know here in the United States. He was the one who brought us the Broadway musical Cats and the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar and Song and Dance. Those are the plays that we know here in the United States. And you also work with songwriter Diane Warren. We all know Diane Warren. She's best remembered for one of her songs called How Can I Live Without You, which was performed by country singer Trisha Yearwood, but then country singer Leanne Rhymes took it to the
Yeah.
top and made it number one
Yeah.
hit on Billboard's country charts, as well as
Yeah.
number one on Billboard's Hot 100 pop charts. What was it
Yeah.
like working with those two names that I just mentioned?
Whew, very intimidating. It was very intimidating. I was quite young as well, you know, I was still just starting out. And it was before I got signed. And I was on a TV show called Eurovision here. And from there, I was asked to demo the Eurovision winners. It was the UK's competition before Eurovision, and the winner of the UK competition, who then went on to represent the UK in Eurovision, was called Jade Ewan back in the day. And they asked me to demo her single, and that was with Diane Warren and Andrew Lloyd Webber. And it was, yeah, I was petrified, to be honest with you. And they both have such a presence. I mean, wow. Yeah. And Diane Warren swears a lot.
Mm.
She swore a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, yes.
I loved her. I loved her. She was a woman after my own heart. She was great.
Mhm. Yes. Now, on a serious note, I know you had dyslexia, and I know you maybe want to talk about it because, like so many other singers, many singers have been diagnosed with so many other diseases. Many of the singers that I grew up, whether it's, cancer or diabetes or any others type of diseases. And many other singers may not talk about it, private, but if someone out there who has the same situation like so many family members, how long you had that disease, dyslexia, and how can, many others who can,
So
talk about it?
dyslexia is it's not a disease. It's being part of the neurodivergent um group of people. So it just means that my brain is wired slightly differently, affecting certain areas, i.e., for me, my sense of direction is horrendous. It can affect, for some people, it can affect your reading skills, your writing skills. Um, that area is fine. Everybody's different, but definitely my sense of direction is affected by that. But dyslexic people tend to be more creative. They tend to, if they're not using one part of their brain so much, they overcompensate with a different side of their brain. So if they're not so good at something academic, it transfers over to the creative side, and they can become excellent at writing, art, singing. So there's pros and cons, but that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. But not a disease, not a disease.
Thanks for clearing it up because I would never knew what that was all about. Because
Yeah,
in real life,
interesting.
Bill Cosby's son Ennis was dyslexic, and when I was watching the Cosby Show, Theo,
Yeah.
who played by Malcolm Jamal Warner, who plays Theo, who comes with dyslexic. So when you hear about these issues coming from today's news headlines, whether it's dyslexic or diabetes or cancer or AIDS, many people don't want to talk about it, but when it affects someone's family, it needs to be talked about and it needs to be opening up and it needs to be discussed because someone out there may have that same situation like you. And it's not only you, but many other singers and other actors and actresses who go through these problems. And sometimes they don't want to talk about it. But by the time when death comes, they should have talked about that a little earlier. And someone, needs to be discussed about it. And it needs someone who needs help on things. And just like you said, the writing and the speaking and everything. So, if someone is out there who has that problem and they want to get help, there's no need to be silent. So many people are out there or silent and they're saying, oh, it's all right. But when you have those symptoms, it needs to be talked about and it needs to be discussed and it needs someone to get help from it. But thank you for clearing it up because sometimes I'm not that good at saying some things I don't want to, embarrass the guests, if you know what I
No,
mean.
you're all good. But you're all good. But I think dyslexia is still fairly new to some people. It's still not quite well understood, but we're getting there. But absolutely, ask away, and if something isn't quite right, that's what talking about these things does. I can then correct you, or you can correct me, and so on and so forth. But yes.
Now, who were some of your favorite musicians or producers that you have worked with down through the years? Who were some of your favorites that you got along with?
So there is so many. There really is. Like I've been so fortunate. The people that I've worked with have just been brilliant. And there's one person in particular who I remember, and I think because it was that moment in time, and it was when I was signed to Universal. It was when I was with Girls Can't Catch. And we worked with a producer called Johnny Douglas, and we worked with him quite a lot on the album. So we were with him the most out of everybody. And I just remember we just clicked. He was a really cool guy. He was a lot of fun. He was a straight talking Aries guy. And he really got my voice. He really got my personality. And I think when a producer gets your tone of voice and understands what you can do with your voice and encourages you, that's when I feel most relaxed, because it takes a little while for me sometimes to come out of my shell, believe it or not. Even now, it just takes me a little while. And then when I meet someone who like just encourages me and understands me, then I feel comfortable and confident to kind of give what I've got. So yeah, I think he was one of up there with one of my faves, I think.
Now, here's the question that I always ask my guest. Living, which musician that you wish you want to perform with or who that you wanted to meet?
I'm gonna go Prince. Can you imagine performing with Prince? I mean, not even in my
Mm.
wildest dreams, but Prince on a huge stadium. I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's just go huge. Um, something like Purple Rain, and yeah, that would be incredible. Or even just to write with him in the studio, because I can imagine he was quite quirky and offbeat, and I kind of like that whole vibe. Yeah, maybe Prince, or even David Bowie actually. Being a shit. Do you know what? And Freddie Mercury. I'm gonna go for three. And Freddie Mercury. Queen and Freddie Mercury, I didn't necessarily listen to growing up. I didn't quite get it or understand. It was in later years as an adult, I suddenly listened and watched and learned about Freddie Mercury, and it was a game changer. So I'm gonna go with Freddie.
Yes. So me also, I didn't
Yeah.
know who the group Queen was with Freddie Mercury, but the only song that I've heard when the late Frankie Crocker of 107.5 WBLS here in the New York City, they played a song, another one, The Dust. That got a little
Yeah.
funky with the funky bass in the
Oh, I'm
background. I
not
was like,
just.
oh, number one
Yeah.
hit on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and won an American Music Award for that song. So we was like, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Oh, I
Yes.
was like, oh, now we
Yes.
getting there, funky. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, here on the
Love it.
Black Soul Music Experience podcast, I always ask my guests who are the favorite top 10 R&B artists of all time. But since this is a blue-eyed soul white chocolate episode, we're going to be doing the top 10 R&B black and blue-eyed soul artists of all time. So we can mix it
Okay.
up. You can put in
All
some of
right.
your favorites. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Are we doing this together?
Well, I'll give you the countdown. Here's how it works. Now, it's kind of
Yeah.
like a top 10 countdown. So we start at number 10, put on our favorites that didn't get that much recognition. But when we work our way up to number one, we get to the artists who got the most accolades, who had the number
Gotcha.
one hits, top 10 hits, who had the biggest million selling albums, whether it was platinum, double platinum, triple platinum, quadruple platinum, that the
Yeah.
artist won an American Music Award or a Grammy or a Soul Train Award or an MTV VMA or BET Award, or inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, those accolades. So I
Yeah.
always ask, my guests. So we're going to start at number 10. So I'll let you start first. Who should be at number 10?
The singer, I would say, the blue-eyed soul, Tina Marie.
Ah, yes, Tina
Yeah.
Marie. We call her
Yes.
Lady T, Tina Marie.
Lady T.
She,
Yeah.
yep.
I think maybe
So
Tina Marie. Yeah. Love her.
yeah, so when we first listened to it on Black Radio, we heard the artist Tina Marie. We thought that
Yeah.
she was black. But when I first saw her
Yeah.
on Soul Train back in 1980 on October 18th, my birthday, we found out who Tina
Yeah.
Marie was and was like, oh, she's white. I was like, she is
Yeah.
so funky. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. She had the wonderful,
Yeah.
soulful pipes ever. And it's like we all say,
Yeah.
soul has no color. So, you know, God don't
Yeah.
make no mistakes. So rest in peace to the ivory soul of Queen, the one and only Lady T, Tina Marie.
Yes.
All right, who should be at number 10?
Lisa Stansfield.
Ah, yes, Lisa Stansfield, number 9. Been around the world and I can't find
Yeah.
my baby. I don't know when, I don't know why. Why she's gone away and I don't know where he can be, baby. But I'm gonna find him. Yeah. When I
Yes.
first heard
Yes.
Lisa Stansfield, she was in the group. I forgot the name it was, but I was watching Video Music Box on
Yeah.
NYC TV channel 25 here in New York City, PBS.
Yeah.
And on a Saturday afternoon, I was listening and hearing the song. The name of the song was called People Hold On. I forgot the group that she was in.
Yeah.
But when I saw the video, it was like, that's Lisa Stansfield? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, she white, but
Yeah.
she got soul. And she had that
Yeah.
do, the haircut that
Yeah.
was
The
like
short
with
hair.
that curl in the front. Yeah.
That.
And
Yeah.
when we know a year later she was churning out hits all around the world, you can't deny it. This is the right time. All women, just to name a few.
Yeah.
And she got a chance to perform with the late Barry White with her version of
Oh, I
All
didn't know
Around the
that.
World. I got the Barry White box set and I saw All Around the World with Lisa Stansfield. It was like, oh, so she got a chance to meet her influence, and that was the late Barry White. So it
I
was
did
a
not know
game
that.
changer.
Wow. Wow.
She got a chance
Amazing.
to meet her idol, the late Barry White.
You know
So
your
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, because
You know
I'm
your
looking at
stuff.
all. Yes, I'm reading the Jet magazine, and I'm looking at the Barry White, biography or anthology. That's what they call it, a collection of study of hits. And I said, "There's Lisa Stansfield with Barry White." I was like, "Oh my goodness."
I'm
She
gonna
got
look
a
that up.
chance to see the one and only Barry White. You know what's his catchphrase? Show you right. That was his catchphrase.
Brilliant. We've got to put him in there, right?
Yeah, we can put him in Barry White, number 8. We can put him there. He was a singer and he was a conductor for the Love Unlimited Orchestra, combining strings and combining with some of the funky rhythms, the guitar and the bass. I mean, Barry White and his Love Unlimited Orchestra had strung out top 10 hits. Number one hit, Love's Theme from Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra. Other hits, Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe,
Yeah.
Ecstasy When You Lay
Yeah.
Down Next to Me, Practice What You Preach, just to name a few. And yeah,
Yeah.
my late mom had some Barry White albums and as well as
Yeah.
some Isaac Hayes. So they was like battling who was the best singer, who's the best rapper or talker that can segue into the hits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hands down, Barry White, number 8.
Love
Who
it.
should be at number 7?
George Michael?
Ah, George Michael, Wham, yes. When I first heard him back in 1984, he was in a group called Wham, but it was only two
Yeah.
guys. That was
Yeah.
George Michael and Andrew Wrigley. So when I first saw them, I think it was on either Solid Gold. When I saw the album, I was like, two guys? That's it? That's the name? Wham? But when they churned out their first debut hit, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, and then another song, Careless Whisper, that is
Yeah.
some soulfully good. And I even get a chance to see the music videos. So here in New York, NBC had Friday night videos. I got a chance
Yeah.
to see that. And some of the local stations, they had some of the music video shows. So for those of us here who don't have MTV or VH1 or BET, some of the local stations and NBC, as I
Yeah.
mentioned, they have some of the music videos back then on regular TV. So, yeah. And he just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the class of
All the same.
2023. So, hands down
Yeah.
to Mr.
Wow.
George Michael at number 7.
Love.
Who should be
Love.
at
What a
number 6?
Um, there's a UK artist here, Beverly Knight. You heard
Beverly
of Beverly
Knight.
Knight? Yeah.
I'd never heard her before, but we can put her on at number 6. And
She's
I
great.
can look at, yes, and I can look her up on
Yeah,
YouTube,
Google.
once.
Yeah, definitely
Yes.
Google her. You will love her. You will love her.
So that's Beverly who?
Knight. Knight, I believe.
Ah, yes, Beverly Knight. Yeah, I can look that up. Who
Yeah.
should be at number 5?
Amy Winehouse.
Ah, they try to make me go to rehab, but I go,
Yeah.
no,
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 no.
no. Yeah.
Oh, when I
Yeah.
first heard this lady back in 2006, I was saying to myself, who is this girl and what's with all them tattoos on her? I'm like, ugh. And the Beehive too. I was like, that lady had some soul. I never heard of that lady with that voice before, but I have checked out a couple of her videos that kind of like take me back to like the influence of Stax Records in Memphis, Tennessee, with those
Yeah.
horns in the background. I was blown away when this singer
Yeah.
came on the scene. Unfortunately, she passed away. And, it's kind of like when you have that person who have that powerful, soulful voice and,
Yeah.
and at the same time, a tormented life,
Yeah.
you have to wrestle with those two things. And even though that her movie came out early this year, but then it went straight to Peacock. I had to ask my friend, "Did you
Ah,
get a chance to see the movie yet?" I said, "Not yet." I say, "I'll probably wait till it gets on YouTube for free."
right.
I'll wait for
Gotcha.
that one.
Okay.
Now, yes. Now, who should be at number 4?
So now we're looking at that top five. We've got to go kind of the real big soul singers, right?
Hmm.
Um. Now you've got me. Um. I want to put Whitney in there, but she's got to be like number 2. Um.
Oh,
I'm drawing a blank. Luther Vandross.
we can put Luther at number 4. Ooh. Luther Vandross. He came on the scene back in 1981 on solo with the debut single Never Too Much, and he had other hits including Stop to Love, There's Nothing Better Than Love, just to name a few. And he was in a group back in 1980 called Change with the song called Glow of Love and Searching, and that later started off his career. But he'll be best remembered for doing all of commercial jingles back in the late 70s and early 80s. And he was on an episode of Sesame Street on PBS. He was in the group, I forgot the name of it, but he was in the group and named the song was called Count to 20. And I remember that episode, but I didn't realize it would be Luther Vandross, the Luther Vandross that we knew getting
Huh?
into the 80s.
Wow.
He was a little slimmer back then. He was in that group. So we got to give a big shout out to Luther Vandross, the one and only
Yeah.
Luther Vandross.
Yeah, I love that. Love that.
Okay, who should be at number three?
What about Tori Kelly?
Ah, yes, Tori Kelly. She's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
One of the
she's
blue
great.
eye one of the blue eyed soul singers that came out back in
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
She had did some couple of songs and did a duet with Justin Timberlake. She just got a
That's it.
gospel LP back in 2018 or 2019 called Psalm
Yeah.
42. Just put out a Christmas LP. She just have a new album that just came out early this year. But in case you may not know, she had auditioned for American Idol. I don't
I
know if
do
you
know
noticed
that.
that.
Yeah.
So so I was watching on Entertainment Tonight. They were showing some clips from American Idol, and she would audition for that,
Yeah.
and no one didn't call her that, so they she was rejected. So, but look at her now. She went on to
God, that's mad.
superstardom.
Yeah,
So
it goes to
anytime
show,
when
doesn't it?
you going on American Idol, you have to show those judges, including Simon Cowell and also Randy Jackson and Paula Abdul. When you get to Paula and Randy, you'll be all right. But you got to pass the test when it gets to Simon Cowell. You'll be like, uh-oh, is is he going to take me, or do I what do I do? What do I do? Should I get rejected? Do I keep going? Do I go on to another show or something like that? So it's it makes the ratings. Simon Cowell makes the ratings. That's the original American Idol on Fox. Stars usually be on the show. Sometimes they do get rejected, don't get on the show. And then you got some others that got on the show. When you get to those top 10 or top 5, who gets
Yeah.
eliminated? Who stays on? And when record producers know who the singer is, they'll get like a recording contract. Some do get, recording contracts and some may not make it. And then you got some other broke out to other things, whether they're appearing in the movies or on television, whether they got an Emmy or a Grammy or an Oscar or a Tony. I can name you names that made famous from American Idol. You have Kelly Clarkson from Cycle One, and
Yeah.
she's been churning out hits today. She has her own daytime talk show. And
Yeah.
also, you had Fantasia. She's breaking
Yes.
out with turning out with some hits. And I didn't
Yeah.
know that she was the cousin of Casey and JoJo from Jodeci. I said,
Oh,
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
oh, I
And
didn't
then
know
you
that.
had yeah, and then you had Jennifer Hudson. You know,
Yeah.
she was up there. She got eliminated, but look at her now.
Yeah.
She had some hits back then. Now she
Yeah.
has her own daytime talk show. She won an Oscar for the movie Dreamgirls. And then
Yes.
you had Catherine McPhee, although she got
Yeah.
eliminated, but she went on to be star in the NBC series Smash, but only lasted for one season. And then
Yeah.
she went
Oh, yeah.
on the CBS spy drama Scorpion for 4 seasons. She went
Yeah.
on to do other things. So while when
Yeah.
you see those who graduated from American Idol As I just
Yeah.
mentioned, if they won an Emmy or a Grammy or an Oscar or a Tony or an Academy of Country Music Award or a CMA Award or Soul Train Award or BET or MTV Award, look at them now. They went on
Yeah.
to super stardom.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Absolutely, they do.
Tori, yes. Now we
Yeah.
have
Great.
Tori at number three. Now we can put Whitney at number two.
Yes, I was going to say that. Love that. Yeah.
Yes, and started off, made her debut with the late Teddy Pendergrass called Hold Me in Your Arms Tonight. And her debut LP made a huge success. You Give Good Love, produced by Kashif. I got a chance to see the music video, and her debut single and her album was an instant smash. She have
Yeah.
sold over 1 million copies in print. She won an American Music Award and a
Yeah.
Grammy for Best New Artist, churning
Yeah.
out hits. She had other LPs that were so successful. She even
Yeah.
won an American Music Award merit for 1994. I was like, Whitney has been churning out hits. And she was
Yeah.
into acting. She was in the movie called The Preacher's Wife, which is the black
Yeah.
version of The Bishop's Wife, and also Waiting to
Yeah.
Exhale, and The
Yeah.
Bodyguard, which
Yeah.
grossed over millions of dollars at the box office. So we would never knew about this girl coming out of Newark, East Orange, New Jersey. Her mother is Sissy Houston, and their cousin is Dionne Warwick. It all runs in the family. So rest in peace to the princess of pop, Whitney Houston. Now we're up
Absolutely.
to numero uno. Who should be at number one?
I think it has to be Aretha Franklin.
Ah, yes, the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin,
I
came
think
on the
so.
scene back
Yeah.
in the mid 60s with her number one hit, Respect. Now,
Yeah.
I can share this with you. Now, I didn't know that that song was written by Otis Redding back
Yeah.
then, but then
Yeah.
when the producers of Atlantic Records brought that song to Aretha for her debut album, I Never
Yeah.
Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, from her
Yeah.
first album from Atlantic Records. It was number one on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and also number one on Billboard's Soul Singles charts.
Yeah.
That song had
Yeah.
became a women's empowerment song. This song came out in the time of the civil rights movement, and that song will become later used for the women's liberation, for the organization called Now, and so many other things. And
Agreed.
also, she's best remembered for doing other cover songs. She did
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder's Until You Come Back to Me, although it
Yeah.
wasn't a hit for Stevie, but Aretha made it to number one. And
Yeah.
the
I remember.
same
Yeah.
thing with some others. Jumpin' Jack Flash. I would never knew that she
Yeah.
would do that song, which originally from the Rolling Stones. She made
Oh
it
my
a top
God.
10
Yeah.
hit, and
Yeah.
Freeway of Love, and she made a
Yeah.
couple of gospel albums. But on one night back in 1998, I was watching the Grammy Awards. It was live at Radio City Music Hall on CBS. This lady had did opera.
Yeah.
Now, it was a song that was supposed to have been for Luciano Pavarotti, but unfortunately, he wasn't feeling well. So the producers at the Grammys went to Aretha and said, "Can you do this one from Luciano Pavarotti?" And
Yeah.
Aretha said, "We can give it a shot." When she came on stage, she performed that opera song. Everyone in the audience couldn't believe it. They were starstruck. When she had performed that song, everybody got up and gave her a standing ovation. And in case you may not
Ah.
know, that was part of the VH1's Top 100 Greatest Rock and Roll Moments that appeared on television. So that was like somewhere in the 30s, if I'm not mistaken. But it was part of that. And let me
Oh,
tell
bless
you,
you.
everybody had a standing ovation. Everyone was crying a bit. They couldn't believe it. So hats off to the Queen of Soul, American Music
Oh,
Award
bless
winner,
you.
Grammy Award winner, and inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk with you on the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with me on this podcast. You're in the UK, I'm here in the US. It is the first time that I'm doing this interview to some of the international artists. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with me. Okay, you there, Daisy? Before we go, um,
Ah,
can
I
you
lost
tell?
you all that time.
Oh, okay.
I lost.
Again, thank you so much for being here and taking the time out to on your busy schedule. And you're in the UK, I'm in the US, and it's the first time talking with you overseas. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I think we've lost her. But anyway, folks, it's a pleasure to talk with Daisy Dance on the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Make sure you follow her on Facebook, on Instagram, at X, aka Twitter, at Miss Daisy Dance. And you can check out her videos streaming on YouTube and also listen to her songs on SoundCloud. And also check out all of her songs streaming online right now. Go to iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase the CD at Amazon.com. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see or hear this interview of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast, please subscribe by going to riverside.fm slash studio slash Samuel dash Wilson Jr.'s with an S at the end dash studio. And hopefully we'll have this episode somewhere down the line. Make sure you subscribe to patreon.com slash Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. That's patreon.com slash the Black Soul Experience Podcast. And please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience. Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe by going to riverside.fm slash studio slash Samuel dash Wilson Jr.'s dash studio. And don't forget to check out my audio podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com slash the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. You can leave your feedbacks, comments, and replies by visiting my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com slash the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66. As always, parting, remember this: reach for the top, and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.